Welcome to the History and Heritage podcast with me, Liam Blake. Join me as we uncover hidden stories and insights that shaped our world. From mysteries to legacies, join us on this journey through time.
Reform moves forward, not by force, but by holiness. These words, attributed to St Bernard of Clairvaux, might well have been written with St Malachy of Armagh in mind. For, within a single lifetime, in 12th century Ireland, one man came to embody that principle more completely than almost anyone before him. Born in 1094 near the ecclesiastical heart of Ireland, Armagh, Malachy entered a world both familiar and perilous. A land once called the land of saints and scholars, now shadowed by the lingering scars of Norse raids, by the squabbles of provincial kings, and by a church that had lost some of its fervour and discipline. Even in those early years, it was clear that Malachy was not an ordinary boy. His spirit carried a seriousness beyond his years, a quiet devotion that would one day restore the very soul of the Irish Church. His father, Malachy of Armagh, was chief lector of Armagh, and his mother, a woman of steadfast piety, nurtured in him the seeds of devotion that would blossom into reform. Even as a child, Malachy sought solitude and prayer over the games of his peers, wandering the ruins of old monasteries, learning psalms by heart, and meditating on scripture. He apprenticed himself to Imar O'Hagan, a recluse living near Armagh, whose austere holiness shaped the young boy. To ordinary folk, it seemed strange, this noble child shunning worldly training, but for Malachy, it was the first step of a journey that would restore a nation's soul. By 25, he was ordained a priest by Archbishop Celsus, an exception to canonical age, which was generally set at 30, and appointed vicar. He entered a church struggling to survive, where superstition often replaced devotion. Malachy became, in the words of his biographer, a flame amidst the forests. Walking miles on foot through bogs and forests, he preached, taught, and administered sacraments. He restored the canonical hours, Roman chants, and proper celebration of confession, confirmation, and matrimony, or marriage. Every village he visited, every monastery he repaired, felt the quiet power of his presence. Yet zeal alone could not restore the church. Humble and wise, he journeyed to Lismore to study under Bishop Malchus, strengthening his knowledge of canon law and ecclesiastical discipline. This was a man who understood that fire of the heart must be guided by wisdom of the mind. By the age of 30, Malachy became Bishop of Down and Connor. His flock was described as, and I quote, beasts and wolves. Yet he treated them with patience and gentleness. He rebuilt the Abbey of Bangor, County Down, with his own hands, laboured alongside his monks, and became a living example of the life he preached. In 1129, Archbishop Celsus, seeking to end centuries of corruption in Armagh, nominated Malachy as his successor. For generations, the primatial see had been treated as a hereditary possession by a powerful lay family. They installed Maurice, and later his kinsman Nigelus, holding sacred relics, the Bacal Issue, the Staff of Jesus, and Gospel Book of St Patrick, to cement their claim. Malachy faced plots on his life, yet met threats with serene courage. One chieftain who sought to ambush him was so disarmed by the, and I quote, heavenly mildness of his countenance, that peace was brokered, instead of bloodshed. Malachy recovered the sacred relics not through force, but by patience and negotiation, establishing a principle: holiness and moral authority could reshape the church. As Archbishop of Armagh, St Malachy laboured tirelessly. He reintroduced the Roman liturgy, restored clerical discipline, and rebuilt monasteries. But he also planted apple trees to feed the poor, reminding us that a shepherd cares for both body and soul. In 1137, he resigned the archbishopric, ordaining Delasius, as his successor, returning to Down and Connor. There he divided the sees, consecrated a new bishop for the diocese of Connor, and kept only the smaller see of Down, living humbly among his canons. And for those of you who are wondering why I keep saying the word see, that's basically a diocese. St Malachy's vision extended beyond Ireland. In 1139 he journeyed to Rome to petition Pope Innocent II for palliums, the symbols of metropolitan authority, for Armagh and Cashel. On his way, he stopped at Clairvaux and met St Bernard, who I mentioned earlier. They formed a profound friendship, and although Malachy desired to remain, obedience called him onward. The Pope appointed him papal legate for Ireland, giving him authority to implement reforms across the island. He left 4 companions at Clairvaux, trained in the Cistercian way, who later founded Mellifont Abbey in 1142, introducing monastic simplicity, manual labour, and rigorous discipline. Ireland, under St Malachy, was being drawn closer to the wider Catholic world, tethered to the heart of Europe's spiritual renewal. In 1148, he undertook a second journey to Rome, but fell ill at his old haunt of Clairvaux. Amid the scent of incense, the quiet chanting of monks, and the cool stone of the abbey, he insisted on receiving the last sacraments on a bed of ashes. St Malachy died peacefully on All Souls' Day, November 2nd, in the arms of St Bernard, a life fully lived in obedience, humility, and love. Canonised in 1190 by Pope Clement III, he became the first native-born Irish saint formally recognised by Rome. Scholars later attributed a so-called prophecy of the popes to him, but many now believe it to be a 16th century fabrication. Regardless, even this underscores the lasting impression he left on Ireland and Christendom. St Malachy's life demonstrates that true power is exercised through love and humility, that reform flows from holiness and patience, and that a single, devoted soul can restore a nation's spirit. Even for those who are not religious, his story surely resonates. St Malachy shows us courage is quiet, leadership is humble, and faith is not abstract. It shapes communities, uplifts the downtrodden, and leaves a tangible legacy. Walk today among the ruins and rebuilt abbeys of Armagh, and you can still feel his presence. The steady flame of reform, the calm authority of virtue, and the enduring light of one life devoted entirely to God and country. Ireland's church, its people, and its connection to Europe were transformed because of him. St Malachy did not seek glory. He sought only to serve, and yet, in doing so, he became a beacon, proof that steadfast faith, quiet courage, and patient diligence can restore the soul of a nation. So, as we close this chapter of history, and this series on the 4 patrons of Ireland, let us remember St Malachy not merely as a figure of the past, but as a model for our own times. A life devoted to integrity, prayer, and the service of others is a life that leaves the world better than it found it. And in St Malachy's Ireland, that better world was born, one monastery, one soul at a time. I'm Liam Blake, and you've been listening to the History and Heritage podcast. If this story sparked your curiosity, please share it, leave a review, and follow me on Instagram at Liam Blake Podcaster. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time for another journey through our shared history and heritage.